In this video, I'm going to talk about different ways to view and display your data from the SnowScope probe. So when you create profiles, you've probably already seen that profiles get automatically grouped together based on time and location. So from my main view here in the app, where I can see all my profiles, I'm actually seeing profile groups here. If I click this little down button, I can see all the profiles that are contained within each group. If I click into a profile, I can see one profile, which is selected here, and then all the other profiles within that group. You can see this yellow box around this profile, which shows that that is the one that is selected. If I want to overlay profiles on top of each other to see how similar they are, to see differences, I can press and long hold on each one, and it will overlay data from the other profiles within that group on top. If I want to change which one is the main highlighted one, I have to actually click this edit button because this is kind of editing the fundamental data about which of these profiles should show up as the main one. So I click that edit, and then a single tap will allow me to select which one shows up as the main one. If I would like to delete one of these profiles, I can double tap on it and it would delete that profile from the group. I'm not going to do that right now, but that's how that would be done. So let's say I wanted to change to this one being the main profile. Click Save. The Fine and Smoothness slider will smooth out some of the smaller, higher frequency fluctuations in this profile because typically, depending on your use case, those may not matter to you. And it tries to preserve large changes in the snowpack while smoothing out kind of the smaller ones. So in this example, it's preserving that crust at the bottom because that's a pretty sharp change, and it's smoothing out some of those other changes. And so this filter is just like a way to view the profiles in a bit of a different way. It can always be changed. You're not permanently editing any of the underlying data. It's just a viewing tool. If you scroll down, you can see some of the other location relevant information associated with this profile that I input. You can always click edit, and you can always add information to this profile group. So that's your basic viewing. I guess the only other thing is you can come into here, you can click settings. I can change my x-axis if I prefer seeing data from the right or the left. I can change my y-axis if I prefer seeing depth or height. And then perhaps the biggest ones for SnowScope probes is I can change the units from hand hardness to kilopascals. So kilopascals unit pressure is kind of the raw data that's coming from the probe. So maybe for scientists or people that care just more about the actual raw numbers coming out of the probe, this measurement is probably most relevant. It's the force required to penetrate the snow over the area of that tip. But we've also created this hand hardness equivalent scale, which correlates those pressure values to hand hardness readings. So for practitioners that are used to seeing a hand hardness profile, this can be a more relevant view of the profile. So I'll go back now. Another important thing to note about viewing the profiles in this list view, right? I'm seeing all the groups here. We definitely have users who want to see all their individual profiles. So if you go into the SnowScope probe section of your menu, click profile grouping mode. Right now I'm set to auto. If I go to single mode, it'll actually break all those groups up into individual profiles. And so now you can see I have way more profiles on my main list view. But each one is actually just an individual profile. And so if I click on those, I'll just see the individual profiles for each one. And that can be useful depending on your use case. But cool thing to note is going between single and auto, I don't actually destroy any of those group associations. They always know what group they're still a part of. So if I go back to auto, it'll throw them back in the group, and I can view them this way too. So you can swap back and forth between those as much as you want. Everything else about the probe will function exactly the same whether you're in single or auto. That's really just a viewing setting. Within that menu too, you probably noticed there's this manual setting. This is a little bit different. So this is really a setting for when you're creating profiles, when you're recording them with the probe. So this would be a setting if I wanted to control which profiles go into which group. So it's really an alternative to the auto grouping. It's not really an alternative to single. Single is just a viewing option. Manual is actually deciding which groups those profiles get associated with. So if I'm probing and I'm on the same, it's going to throw the newest profile that I created into whatever the most recent group of Snowscope profiles is. If I click this new button, it's going to throw that profile into its own totally new group. So a use case of this is, say I'm doing a slope transect, across a bowl. Maybe I want to keep all those profiles grouped together. They might not always go in the same group with the auto setting because they're not all in the same location. So auto setting might not be a great option because it might split it up in different groups. So if I leave this manual grouping on same, I can force all those profiles to be in the same group. In the future, we're going to add tools that allow you to change groups afterwards, but for right now, that's not really an option. So those are the main tools, and last thing to note is this auto and single setting also applies to the map view. So I'm in single mode now. This is profiles from last week, and you can see those numbers are quite high. If then I go into auto mode or manual mode, it'll throw it back grouped, and my groups become much smaller. So when you're dealing with a lot of data, it can help to go to auto mode to throw everything grouped together. Just reduces the amount of data here, keeps it more manageable, but we understand there are use cases for that single mode as well. So that is the main kind of overview of how to view and your viewing options for Snowscope profiles. Thanks for watching.